Welcome to the Believe in Texans podcast alongside former Houston Texans wide receiver, 6-year NFL veteran Cecil Shorts III. I'm Patrick Creighton, the host of Area 45 on Sports Radio 610, your flagship home for the Houston Texans. And Cecil, we got a lot to get into today. A lot of fun stuff because, look, OTA's wrapping up second week. And, I know I'm going to surprise you with this, right? And you might not have known about this, but a huge national crisis was averted. Stefon Diggs showed up for voluntary OTAs the second week. And, what was once considered a clear and present danger to national security has been resolved. The panic that was set in, not just by some Texans fans, but by some media. That's, oh my gosh, Stefon Diggs, he's not here. It has all been averted. Stefon Diggs at OTAs, and your thoughts on what was clearly a national crisis that has been averted. Who do we owe this credit to?
Man, I guess Diggs, right? I don't know. Like, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad that terrible situation where he just wouldn't show up to voluntary OTAs is now over. But I tell you what, just off of what I hear from different reporters, different highlights we see on Twitter, different rumblings that's going on, he looks really, really, really good. He's looking as advertised, especially in that number one uniform. He just looks good in deep steel blue. But I'm glad that it's not a thing anymore. We talked about it on air a couple episodes ago. Like, hey, who really cares? Like, we know he's working hard. We know the type of worker he is. He's extremely durable. He's professional. He's a pro. He's been doing this for a very long time now. He knows how to get ready for a season. He's already been working with CJ and the other receivers. He'll be a great addition to the room. So to see him there, getting reps, making plays all across the field, it's fun to see for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that, hey, Laramie Tunsil's not there, and Titus Howard's not there, and Shaq Mason's not there, and they're your three veterans on the offensive line, of which you probably used 47 offensive linemen last year. I'm only exaggerating a little bit. With the amount of injuries they had to the offensive line, isn't that a bigger deal than, Stefon Diggs didn't come to voluntary workouts? But apparently that was not the case, Cecil. It was not the case. The number one issue for all Texans fans and all media around the world was, where is Stefon Diggs? And that was answered on Thursday of this week when Stefon Diggs said, here I am, check me out in my nice number one. and as you said, there are plenty of videos circulating on the interwebs of Stefon Diggs looking very good and having a very strong rapport early with CJ Stroud, who I believe Bobby Slowick said looks like he has not missed a beat from last season. CJ Stroud already out there throwing BBs. And while people say, well, Crate, they're just wearing helmets and shorts. Here's the thing. If you look good in helmets and shorts, this is a positive. Why? Because if you look bad in helmets and shorts, it's a gigantic negative.
Yes.
So very important that your guys look good in helmets and shorts, because if you don't look good in helmets and shorts, you don't look good in helmets and pads. So this is step one. And you have to ace the first test before you can ace the second test. So why do we get so worked up? Why do we care what they look like in helmets and shorts? This is why. Because you have to get through this to get to the next.
And I tell you what, like, for a receiver and DB and even quarterback, a lot doesn't change from helmets and shorts to shoulder pads, because for the DBs and receivers, that's what you got. Like, you're playing full speed 100%, right? You're not getting hit 100 times a game. You're not have to face the blitz. Like, the same way they press you in practice with helmet and T-shirt on is the same way they're going to press you in the game with a helmet, shoulder pads, and a game jersey on. It's the exact same thing. So the reps that the quarterback and receiver get, that the DBs get, that's all live reps. So to your point, it's extremely important that you're looking good during this time, because if you look good during that time, it's only going to get better as time goes on to continue to build that chemistry.
Also, very under the radar happening, Danielle Hunter also showed up at OTAs. Nobody knew he was missing because everybody only knew about Stefon Diggs. That is literally 100% honest to God how that happened. And we are not even kidding.
Always the name, brother. It's always about the name.
All right, maybe I'm kidding just a little. Just a little. Now, Diggs out there on the field, but hasn't really been made available to the media yet. Now, last year, we kind of went through this with CJ Stroud, right? The Texans didn't make CJ available to the media very often and made us wait a long time before we got to talk to CJ. We haven't gotten to talk to Stefon Diggs yet. Is that a big deal to you?
Yes and no. Like, yes, from the media standpoint, from the fan standpoint, like, you want to hear what he sounds like. You want to hear some of his thoughts on why he wanted to come here. His thoughts on CJ, his thoughts on the receiver room, his thoughts on the team as a whole, right? So, yes, in that sense, you want to hear from your newly acquired receiver. I guess it's been over like 50 days, according to some people on the radio. Like, we haven't heard from him since the trade, right? But at the same time, my other side of him is like, no, it's not a big deal. For two reasons. One, I want him to play football. I don't care about him talking. And two, when he does talk, I don't know if it's always something I want to hear. I don't know if he's the guy that you want in the media every single night talking him on the microphone. Just being honest here, right? Not saying gonna say anything bad, but sometimes he gets cryptic. Sometimes he gets, he's a guy that's a true diva. He's into himself. He can be fun in the media. He can be a good time. He also can be frustrated in the media, right? So I think you got to be mindful of who you're letting talk to the media when it comes to your personnel and who you want to represent the Texans. Not that he's a bad guy at all. I have heard nothing but good things about Stefon. But I think that in the back of my mind, I would think those things.
All right, so you would find it more hilarious if Stefon Diggs came to a press conference and just said, I'm only here so I don't get fined. or I'm just out here working every day trying to be a good teammate. Because these two things have happened before, and I found them to be hilarious.
Oh, they're hilarious.
And,
Super funny.
and if he were to do that, like deliberately troll everybody with one of those, dude, I would crack up so hard. I'm going to say something that pretty much goes against everything I'm supposed to say as a member of the media.
Okay.
I could give a flying rat's tail if he talks during OTAs. Like, don't care. All I care about is he's on the field, he's healthy, he's building his rapport with his quarterback, he's building his rapport with his receiver group, and he's out there and he's doing his thing. If he doesn't talk during OTAs, I could care less. I mean, during OTAs, what do guys normally say? Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Just want to get out on the field. Want to work hard. Want to have a great season. Want to do it for the fans. Love the city. Like, we could just, like, mass produce this, like cookie cutter. This is what they're going to say. I don't care. I really don't. And I know that a lot of fans, they want to hear from the guy because they want to get the whole, man, I love being in Houston. And like, dude, guys want to be wherever they're getting paid, wherever they're appreciated. All right. So why does he want to be here? Well, because they're going to win and they're going to pay him. Because if they weren't going to win and they weren't going to pay him, he wouldn't want to be here, and neither would anybody else. So, like, I'm okay with that. I don't care about that. The idea of, the guy's on the street, you have to hear from him, like, right now. It doesn't bother me because I don't expect he's going to say anything otherworldly or super noteworthy. I just want him on the field and doing his thing. And when he talks, well, he talks. And when he does talk, we'll probably pull 20 sound bites and we'll play them all freaking day long because that's what we do. We play them all day long. We'll take every sound bite and we'll find 10 different ways to twist it and turn it. Yeah. What does this mean? And what does that mean? And because that's what we do in the media. We get as much juice out of every little lemon as we can. It doesn't bother me that he hasn't spoken yet. It doesn't bother me at all. And, if he talks during minicamp, okay, great. And if he doesn't, whatever. It's mini camp. It's like 3 days of whatever.
I get what you're saying, but I do think at least one time, just for the fans, just to hear how much he's excited. Because you're right. If he's going to say the things that you mentioned. Oh, happy to be in Houston. And can't wait to play with CJ. Really wanted to be in a place that's going to win. But the fans want to hear that. Make him happy. Just give him one time. Just one time, talk to the media, in and out, and you're done for OTAs. You're done till training camp.
Can we get it where, it's almost like an Oscars acceptance speech? I want to thank Nick Caserio for bringing me in here, and I want to thank D'Amico Ryans for having confidence. And I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me all my natural ability. Like, can we just get the whole Oscars speech? You thank everybody.
Hey, why not? Why not?
That'd be great. I'll have fun with that. And I feel like Diggs is the kind of guy that if he really wants to say, we're going to have fun today. We're going to have fun today. And when he's ready to do that, then yes, Stefan, get up on the microphone and let's have fun. Because I'm so much more for that than, well, I'm happy to be here and work with my teammates and I'm going to speak in monotone because I'm going to say the same thing I was told to say that everybody else was told to say. Don't give me the boring stuff. Let's have some fun.
This is interesting because Stefan's a unique guy. Like, if you watch his Instagram, you watch his Twitter, he's not like a normal person that posts and he has like some swag to him, like the way he dresses, the way he has a unique style, uniqueness about him. So I think it may be like interesting. I know it's going to be very interesting whenever he does speak. And like you said, we're going to break down, the media is going to break down every single thing he says to the T, especially as the year goes on and gets closer to free agency and all this stuff. Or is he mad? Is he happy? Whatever the case may be. But he's going to be somebody we're going to keep an eye on. And I think as a head coach, as a GM, I don't want to deal with that right now. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want no critique. I don't want nothing. Keep him away. So the more I think about it, the more I'm in my head, I'm debating, right? I went half and half, right? I'm like, well, what do I? No. You'll talk to him during training camp. The fans that get to love him, they'll love that he's durable. They love that he's play in the field, how sweet he looks, and then that'll be it. You'll talk to him in training camp, but until then, I don't want to worry about anything.
Now, Cecil, believe it or not, there were a lot of other players at OTAs whose names are not Stefan Diggs.
Oh, really?
Shocking, I know, but this did happen. What were some of your takeaways from OTAs overall as a whole? 2 weeks, 2 weekends essentially of OTAs here. What were just general takeaways of things that you've seen, things that you've connected on, and your expectations for what this team is going to be?
A few things I noticed. Number one, Joe Mixon is a lot bigger of a human being than I thought he was. He is fit. He is just looks like a man child out there. He is somebody that I'm excited to see run the football. I'm excited to see catch the football at the backfield. I think that was my first observation. Number two, Tank Dell is, I don't know how you get shot and be able to come back the way he's come back. He looks exceptional.
Because he's Wolverine. He has adamantium in his veins, and he just heals immediately.
That is right. And then on the defense side of the ball, when you have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and they're rolling off the edge, they're coming flying off the ball. When you see the defense hustling, when you see Stingley, when you read about Stingley, like they're saying he's impressing in training camp. And you got to remember, he's going against now Stefan Diggs, now Nico Collins, $72 million man, now Tank Dell. He's going against good every single day. That's only going to get him better and better. But the way he's looking out there, I expect him to be one of the top 5 corners in the league coming out of the season's end. So it's exciting. It's a lot of anticipation, a lot of expectations. But these guys look like they're night and day, especially some of the young guys, night and day better than where they were last year, mentally and physically.
Cecil, I'm really glad that you gave a really long, extended, detailed breakdown there, because I realized when I said Wolverine and adamantium, everybody watching just went, holy nerd. And you were able to just direct that right back to the Texans and take the whole nerd thing straight away from me. So I really appreciate you doing that for me, brother. This is the Believe in Texans podcast. He is former Houston Texans wide receiver, 6-year NFL vet, Cecil Shorts III. I am Patrick Creighton, host of Area 45 on your flagship station for the Houston Texans, Sports Radio 610. You just mentioned there, Cecil, Nico Collins got paid. Now, Look, this is a guy who, last year before the season started, I was very high on Nico Collins. I know he had been banged up a lot his first 2 years with the team. I also know that the revolving door on the carousel at head coach, at offensive coordinator, at quarterback, and everywhere around him, none of those things helped him really get better his first 2 years. But I thought that particularly in year 2, he had flashes that showed how athletic he was, the way that he could win the 50-50 ball at like an 80 to 90% clip, the fact that he could really go up and get a football. He could high point the ball. I thought he showed a lot of potential in year 2, and I thought, hey, year 3, this is a make or break year for Nico Collins, and I think he's absolutely going to be a boss. And he was better than even I could have expected. I mean, I think he was better than anybody could have expected last year with 1,297 yards, and he was tremendous. And you and I had this conversation before about, hey, is Stefon Diggs a guy who's going to be in Houston for 1 year? Could he be here longer? And I had told you back then, originally said that I think that they will look to see, can Nico be relatively healthy again for another year? And I think if Nico shows the durability concerns can kind of be put aside and he continues to produce, which I don't think there's any question he's going to produce with CJ Stroud, that at that point, maybe the thought process is we're gonna extend Nico, we're gonna make him a Texan long term, and when it comes to Stefon, we'll see what the numbers look like and whether or not that's something that's going to work out for us. But it's not, hey, we absolutely have to have him back, though we'd like him back. I thought if Nico wasn't healthy or struggled to stay healthy, that would make Stefon Diggs returning here very likely, and they would come at him with a contract offer because Diggs is so durable. That dude plays every game, every snap, no questions asked, and he produces like a champion. He's been one of the top 4 most productive receivers in the league for the last 5 years because he's always on the field. Well, the Texans have now changed the narrative on this because Stefon Diggs, he's on a 1-year deal, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with him next year. All I really care about right now is that he goes out and he balls out the way Stefon Diggs has always done. But Nico Collins came home one day and found a Brinks truck in his driveway, and they were unloading bags and bags and bags of money. I was A, really excited for Nico, and B, I got very kind of depressed because that's never going to happen to me. But very excited for Nico. He got paid a lot of money, 3 years, $72 million. Were you surprised that deal got done so fast, so early? Or do you see this as the Texans reading the market and saying, hey, you know what? Justin Jefferson is looking for a contract. T. Higgins wants a contract. Jamar Chase wants a contract. The contract value of a wide receiver is only going up. Let's hit now.
You know what? Thinking about how Nick Caserio operates, I think he does a great job managing the cap. He watches the cap closely. He always talks about what is the market for these certain players. We talked about a couple weeks ago, or maybe like Saquon Barkley was in the market, but he would not go over a certain number, right? Okay, he talked about there's certain things when it comes to money. He has an idea of where that person should be paid, how much they should be paid. When it comes to Nico, he had an idea, and I think he saw the landscape, what's going on. A.J. Brown, $32 million a year, right? Devontae Adams is up there. When you look at his teammate, Devontae Smith, he's up there when it comes to getting paid. And you're mentioning it's only going to get higher and higher and higher. How the offenses are playing, how the NFL is changing the rules, how the impact of the receiver position is in a place where it's kind of like the quarterback. It's you pay the quarterback and then you kind of pay the receivers is second or third. Maybe defense ends up there too now. But these guys are getting paid. So to beat the rush when it comes to T. Higgins, when it comes to Brandon Ayuk, when it comes to Jamar Chase, to avoid, hey, that I got to pay this man $30-40 million a year. Let's pay him right now. He had a great year. Let's pay him right now. I think the biggest thing when it comes to Nico is number 7. Like we can't overlook the stability in the organization right now. When you have that type of stability at head coach position and then at the quarterback position, it makes everybody around you better. And Nico happened to be a perfect example of that. He had tremendous success because of number 7, the quarterback back there. And eventually you have to pay that quarterback a bunch of money. So to keep Nico happy, to keep Nico around and wanting to be and continue that chemistry, let's pay him right now. Let's pay him fair price, but not crazy over the market. And let's see what he can go back and do it again. 1,200 yards last year, 80 catches, 8 touchdowns. I mean, if you look at his previous 2 years, he only had about 450, 480 yards each of the last 2 seasons, right? So basically last year combined, he doubled or maybe tripled how many yards he had, I guess, production basically, right? So I look at it as Nick being very smart, seeing the future, seeing and understanding what's coming, and then taking advantage of the opportunity of him having a really good year. Now, does it dampen things when it comes to Stefon Diggs? It's waiting to see, but it makes me confident that the GM, the head coach, the coaching staff, they love them some Nico Collins and they love them some Tank Dell. Stefon Diggs is just somebody that comes in and is he's going to help tremendously, but you have 2 young studs that can learn from Stefon. If he decides to step away, you still are in control and you still have 2 young gunners that can make plays for you.
Yeah, and I think there's a big part of this is with Stefon being part of an offense that, look, in Buffalo, they kind of changed their offense. They changed the offensive coordinator. They got away from things when it came to how much they were relying on the passing game. And this was a problem for Diggs, who is, now marginalized in his in his role in the offense. It was a big issue for Gabe Davis, who was then marginalized in the Bills offense. And both of those guys wanted out of town. For Stefon Diggs to be able to come to Houston and be a part of a team that is going to throw the ball all around the yard with CJ Stroud. His numbers are going to be big. The team is expected to win. And I think if you combine those things, if he gets that high usage rate that he's looking for, because there's enough balls to go around in this offense for Stefon to get his, for Nico to get his, for Tank to get his. All right, there's enough. They're going to throw it. So he's getting the usage in the offense. And then he's also got a chance to be on a team that could win and has a good chance to win. Look, Vegas, depending on which Vegas book you go to, the Texans are either the 3rd best odds or the 4th best odds to win the Super Bowl. And this is a team that a year ago was expected to be the 3rd or 4th worst team in the NFL by Las Vegas. So you think about the 1-year turnaround of this team and what it has meant and how fast it has come together. A guy like Stefon Diggs able to see that and say, hey, you know what? There's something special going on over there, and I can help it get to the next level. And if you get the Stefon Diggs that we've seen for the last 5 years, I think he does go to the next level. And, man, winning changes a lot of things. When you're winning, man, you can get into a whole different conversation when it comes to contracts and extensions, because winning is a drug, right? Winning is a drug. You want to win. It makes you feel so much better about everything. Hey, I was on a winner, and now, do you change your point of view? Hey, I've already gotten paid a ton of money. I don't have to get the absolute maximum dollars on the market. I can still get paid an awful lot of money, but stay on a team that I'm happy with, stay on a team that's winning, and have that almost like legacy type of experience. So I think when it comes to Stefon Diggs staying with the Texans, like you said, it's a wait and see type of thing. And that's okay if it's a wait and see, because I think he's going to play really well. And now that you've got Nico long term, you've still got Tank on a rookie contract. He's got a 3 more years left before you have to address him. There's a potential that this wide receiver group could be here for a while. And I think the ability of the Texans in how much we expect that they're going to throw the football and their ability to keep the usage rates for both Stefon Diggs and Nico Collins at high rates plus success, it changes conversations. When we get into that, because you now have Stefon Diggs and Nico Collins, 2 guys. Look, I think Nico showed he can be a number 1 receiver last year. I think he showed that. And now you've got a guy in Stefon Diggs who has proven that he's a number 1 receiver for years. You've got 2 alpha dogs, and then you got a guy like Tank Diggs, like Tank Dell, who I mean, you saw that guy. He can break defenses. He can get over the top. He's slippery. He gets in between coverages. There are so many different things. How do you cover three guys who are uncoverable? And Bobby Slowick was talking about this yesterday, Cecil, about different options for the offense. And like for you as a guy who played receiver, when you're in this situation where, hey, we got three guys who essentially, if you don't double them, they're open. How many different cool things does that open up for on the offense when you're running, say, 11 personnel or you're running 21 personnel? How many different things are you now able to do because you've got three absolutely fierce receivers plus a tight end plus a running back?
I think it opens up the entire playbook, right? But I think the best thing offensive coordinators can do when you look at 11 personnel, 21 personnel, you need to look at the individual. Okay, what does Stefon Diggs do extremely well? All right, he runs out cuts very well. Or Tank Dell, what does Tank Dell do really well? Okay, if we put him in a squeeze formation, which means instead of being out wide, you're going to tighten him down, then he runs an out cut or an out route or maybe a double move. He's really good at attacking the leverage of a DB. Find what those individual guys do well, then mix up the formations, mix up the motions, mix up the personnels. So they're still doing what they do well, and they understand completely their assignment. But to the defense, it looks different. To the defense, now you go from 21 personnel where it's two receivers. Now you got three receivers in the game and 11 personnel. It's like, whoa, what's going on? They go from a bunch situation. They may motion out, and now it's 3-by-1. You can just be creative when it comes to how it looks pre-snap. And I think that's the biggest thing for Bobby Slowick. How do things look pre-snap? How can I find the mismatches? How can I find ways to find the weakness in the defense, but still have my guys do what they do best, right? What does Nico Collins do really good? He runs intermediate routes extremely well. The short post, the glance, the slants, he does that extremely well. How can we get him in that situation? Can we get him? Can we start in a bunch situation? Can we start in a bunch formation? Excuse me. And then in that bunch, you got Stefon Diggs, and you motion him outside of the bunch. So now the whole defense has to shift over, and they're worried about Stefon. Now I got one-on-one with the safety with Nico Collins, right? There's ways to make things look crazy pre-snap or look crazy to the defense where they have to adjust. And when they have to adjust, a lot of the time they go to a simple coverage, right? They go to cover 2 or cover 4, something that okay, I don't know what's going on. It's a lot going on. Hey, let's go a simple coverage to keep everything in front of us and to not get beat deep. So I think that's the creativity that comes with having so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball, right? So whether it's 11 personnel or 21, figure out what Joe Mixon does extremely well. Figure out what Dalton Schultz does extremely well. Figure out what Cade Stover does extremely well. Brevin Jordan, what do these guys do well? And then let's put them in a situation to do well, right? But we're going to make it look crazy to the defense. So Brevin Jordan may start in the backfield and then motion out to the slot. And we're in 21 personnel. So they're like, wait, it's 2 tight ends in the game. Where's the other tight end? Oh, he's in the backfield. Oh, now he's motioning out to the slot. Now he's motioning back in to he's blocking the backside defense and in. It's just so many things you could do. If you're Bobby Slowick right now, you should be head over heels because this is the type of offense that can be extremely special. You type of offense you want to coach. So there's so many intricacies that you can do, but obviously the number one thing, in my opinion, is finding out what do these individual guys do extremely well and put them in that situation to do it.
All right, Cecil, as we start to wrap up this episode of the Believe in Texans podcast, I want to ask you about some of the under the radar players to you, guys who maybe aren't necessarily looked at as top stars on the team, but guys that you think will have a very important role on this team as the season goes on. Who are some of the guys who are a little under the radar to you right now?
You know what? I'm going to say a name, and, everybody might just smack me or like, Cecil, you're tripping. Keami Fairburn. I think right. I think we overlook how important he is to the offense, how important he is to the team. He only missed 1 field goal out of 28 attempts last year, right? And when he was out, we missed him. He missed 5 games last year because of lower leg injury. So when he was out, the Texans missed him. He had Matt Amendola come in, and he was 6 of 9. But some of the 3 he should have made, I think. Or if he missed it, then Keami could have made it. but he is somebody that's accurate, one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL. And when it comes to scoring, whether it's extra points, which we see a lot of kickers miss nowadays, right? Or if it's field goals, you need points, especially if you're chasing Kansas City in the AFC. So, of course, you want 6, you want 7 points every time you get the ball. But reality is that's not the case. So you can get 3 this time, you can get 3 this time, and he can come in clutch and he can continue to be accurate. He is somebody that we're overlooking that I think is a huge player that we need to kind of open our eyes and respect a little bit more.
You know, as long as we're talking about the kicking game, a guy that I think could potentially have a very unique value is Dare Ogunbowale. So last year we noticed, hey, Dare can kick.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe he even kicked better than Matt Amendola. I'm not going to say that, but maybe. And, you know, with the new rules on the kickoffs, we've seen coaches talk about the idea of, hey, is there a way instead of using a regular kicker on these kickoffs, because now you have to kind of land it in the kicking zone in between the 20 and the goal line. You're not trying to just boot it out of the back of the end zone. You got to keep it on the field of play, and you need to drop it in this zone. Could Dare be a guy who is the kickoff guy, because you're not trying to boot it out of the zone. You just want to kick it into that drop zone. And then you've got an extra like tackler on the field. You have an extra guy who can actually make a play on special teams instead of having a kicker who, you know, I'm not trying to bag on kickers, but the reality is kickers don't make a lot of tackles. And I don't think we expect kickers to make a lot of tackles. And I believe that Pat McAfee once showed us that if you are a kicker and you do make a tackle, you're getting a PED test the next day. So maybe, you know, if that is something where they could work in, have Dare Ogunbowale as the guy doing the kickoffs, and then there's a guy who's got speed, he can get down the field, and now he's an 11th actual tackler on a special teams, that could be an advantage that a lot of other teams don't have.
That is a creative, and I love the idea. Because now you're right. It's not just kicking out the back of the end zone. You have to put it in a certain area, a certain zone. And what's happening is if you watch I think it's the UFL and whatever they're doing the exact same kickoff. These guys are going to return it, and they're doing well with the returns. And it's kind of like a zone scheme they're running, right? There's set ways they're blocking it. So to have an extra guy that's kind of physical that can make a tackle rather than a kicker, and he doesn't have to blast the ball out of the end zone. That might be a way to get that particular individual or whoever it is on the field, and help out the special teams. I love the idea. Actually, that's creative.
We come up with some new and funky things here on the Believe in Texans podcast. He is former Houston Texans wide receiver, 6-year NFL veteran Cecil Shorts III. I am Patrick Creighton, host of Area 45 on Sports Radio 610, your home of the Houston Texans. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Believe in Texans podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Believe in Texans podcast on Apple, on Spotify, and everywhere that podcasts are available, and we'll see you soon. Go Texans.